Chapter 291, The Purple Crystals Throbbing. Over the tens of millions of years, an unknown number of mighty figures had tried probing fallen Stargate, with every inch of ground probably being covered, but they did not manage to find the entrance to the cave. Under such circumstances, Chu Xiaoran did not believe she had any luck. Chu Xiaoran said, "There are many strong desolate beasts in fallen Stargate. The strength of the majority of the desolate beasts exceeds our imagination. Just the pressure they give is not something we can bear, let alone dealing with those existences. Now it is imperative that we leave fallen Stargate. If we are unlucky, we might even die here." Chu Xiaoran's expression looked serious. Traversing fallen Stargate really depended on their luck. The desolate beasts here were an unknown number of times stronger than the mutated three-eyed spider. Once the group were targeted by them, it was impossible to escape. It was practically a dead end. Yi Yun nodded. Just as he was about to echo Chu Xiaoran's words, he suddenly felt something. Just for a moment, he felt the purple crystal throb. Ever since the purple crystal entered his heart, it had been sleeping peacefully. It would pulsate gently with his heartbeats. Each pulsation period was precise like clockwork. There had never been any exceptions. The purple crystal did not react even when Elder Jiangut did a full body scan of Yi Yun using his heaven's eye twice. Yi Yun felt that something was unusual now that the purple crystal suddenly throbbed. What is going on? Yi Yun settled down and carefully tried to identify what caused the throb. He vaguely felt that the purple crystal origins within his body had formed a faint connection with something in this world. And this connection seemed to be guiding him to search for it. What is the matter? Yi Yun was curious. He wanted to find the location where the connection was established instinctively. But he knew how dangerous fallen Stargate was. With his purple blood realm cultivation level, traversing fallen Stargate was like an ant traversing a busy street. If it was not careful, it would be crushed to pieces instantly. At this moment, a few people fell from the sky. Qianniu, Chu Shan, and Chu Luo fell down successively. It seemed like the various forks in the whirlpool all eventually led to fallen Stargate. Chu Shan and Chu Luo were pale in the face. Apparently, they had consumed a lot of energy. All of them were shocked for words seeing the vast world in front of them. Chu Xiaoran explained to Qianniu and company. While at this moment, Yi Yun was in deep thought. He continued to interface his spiritual energy with the purple crystal, trying to find that unknown guidance. Yi Yun, it's time to go. At this moment, Chu Xiaoran's voice rang in Yi Yun's ear. In her hand, there was a simple map that was just drawn. As she looked at the map, she said, "I know very little about fallen Stargate. I used my memories to draw up a speculatory route. I do not know if I can bring everyone out." Amongst the group, Chu Xiaoran was the person who knew the most about fallen Stargate. It was better to follow her guesses than haphazardly going about. Let's go. We need to work together to overcome this difficulty. Chu Xiaoran said and began walking. Qianniu and company naturally followed. Yi Yun, what's the matter with you? Realizing that Yi Yun was not moving, Chu Xiaoran felt curious. Yi Yun sighed slightly and raised his head to look in a direction. There was a flaming sea there. This flaming sea was the perpetual fire hell that burned pure yang flames. Yi Yun could vaguely feel that the source of the purple crystal's throbbing came from within the flaming sea. And Chu Xiaoran's route choice was in the opposite direction of the flaming sea. The flaming sea was considered a land of death, while Chu Xiaoran chose a path of survival. Using one's gut, there was a large chance of leaving fallen Stargate by following Chu Xiaoran, but Yi Yun did not have such intentions. He said, "You guys go ahead. I do not want to leave temporarily." Hearing Yi Yun's response, Chu Xiaoran was surprised. She thought she had heard wrongly. "What did you say?" "I want to go there and take a look." Yi Yun pointed towards the flaming sea. Chu Xiaoran was completely stunned. Xiongnu, Chu Shan and company all looked at Yi Yun with disbelief. Even if they did not understand anything about Fallen Stargate, they could guess that the Flaming Sea was terrifying. Heading there was practically a road towards death. Was Yi Yun mad? Brother Yi, what are you thinking? Even with me leading the way purely through speculation, I would never head there. Xiongnu said incomprehensibly. That's right, Brother Yi. This is no joking matter. This is Fallen Stargate, not the outer perimeter of Meteorite Abyss. Even in the outer perimeter of Fallen Stargate, we would not dare to haphazardly venture. It could cause death. Chu Shan echoed. But Yi Yun had made up his decision. Yi Yun did not know what the throbbing of the purple crystal meant, but Yi Yun intuitively felt that he would regret it if he did not investigate it. The path of martial arts was fraught with difficulties. Although Yi Yun had the heaven-defying item that was the purple crystal, he could not slack too. He needed to work hard through his own efforts. Many people who practiced martial arts risked their lives to explore mystic realms just for that 1% chance of those fortuitous events, and those people did not have any guidance nor could they guess what they would receive from the mystic realm. But compared to these people, Yi Yun had the purple crystal guiding him. He was much better off. The path of practicing martial arts was to go against the heavens. If they did not fight for the fortuitous event right in front of them because of danger, they might as well give up on martial arts. Yi Yun, have you really made up your mind? You can't be thinking of finding that legendary entrance to the expert's cave, right? You must know that the burning hell in Fallen Stargate had been probed by mighty figures over the tens of millions of years. Their perception, strength all exceed your imagination, yet they never managed to find the entrance in the burning hell. Chu Xiaoran looked seriously at Yi Yun. She found him incomprehensible. So what if he had outstanding talent? How could a junior at the Purple Blood Realm compare to a sage when probing mystic realms? Yes. Yi Yun nodded. Chu Xiaoran was helpless. She did not know what Yi Yun was trying to do. From her understanding of Yi Yun, he was a very rational person. All right, since you have made up your mind. I can only wish you good luck. Of course Chu Xiaoran would not accompany Yi Yun in taking the risk. It was practically courting death. I wish you all luck too. Yi Yun said. Chu Xiaoran sighed, hopefully. In the short 4 hours in Meteorite Abyss, Chu Xiaoran's intuition told her that Yi Yun had secrets. His perception of danger and the handling of dangerous situations exceeded that of others. If Yi Yun really was able to foresee danger, then he might have a chance of coming back alive. Chu Luo was about to say something, but Yi Yun had already started walking towards the burning hell with the Taitsang Bao across his back. Little Ran, are you just going to? Chu Shan cut her speech halfway. In the distant horizon, the burning flames that tore up into the sky gave off a sense of bleak solitude with Yi Yun's back. The heated air danced around as it distorted light. Yi Yun's figure quickly became fuzzy and hazy. Chu Luo wanted to stop Yi Yun several times, but never managed to open her mouth. Are we just going to let him go? I heard that there were deaths even when sages probed Fallen Stargate. Chu Luo really could not understand what a growing teenager like Yi Yun was planning to do heading into the burning hell. Chu Xiaoran said, sages would die because they went too deep into the burning hell. Yi Yun should be aware of that and he would not do things that courted death. But even so, it would be difficult for him to come back alive. Maybe he has a reason that compels him to go. Chu Xiaoran came up with this guess and she stopped thinking about Yi Yun. Let's go. If I didn't guess incorrectly, this should be the outer perimeter of Fallen Stargate. If our luck isn't too terrible, we can leave this place alive. Alright, Chu Luo, Xiongnu and company took another deep glance at Yi Yun before turning around, heading towards Fallen Stargate's exit. Chapter 292, Burning Hell. There were extreme dangers inside Fallen Stargate. Yi Yun embarked on the journey by himself. He knew very well that with his current strength in Fallen Stargate, he was just a tiny ripple in a large tidal wave, he could be destroyed at any time. He had to be extremely careful. Yi Yun kept his energy vision open at all times and remembered everything he saw deeply. The purple crystal's control over energy was not only effective on energy in the exterior world, it was also able to control energy within his interior. Yi Yun used the purple crystal to gather all of his body's yuan qi. This feeling was like he was an invisible membrane. It completely covered Yi Yun, making it seem like he was isolated from the world. He carefully rested his back on a rock. With the purple crystal's energy vision, Yi Yun had a keen sense of where the powerful entities were, making him able to easily avoid them in advance. In an unseen way, Yi Yun could feel a terrifying desolate beast looking towards him from a distance. Yi Yun stayed motionless with a bated breath. It was as if he was a piece of rock. Yi Yun only came around the rock when the terrifying desolate beast he saw with his energy vision slowly moved away. He opened his heaven's eyeball and used his energy vision to explore his surroundings. After making sure that there were no strong desolate beasts within a 5-kilometer radius, he began traveling at a faster pace through this small patch of desolate lands. Again and again, Yi Yun used the purple crystal's energy vision and various kinds of camouflage that Fallen Stargate provided to proceed with difficulty. The distance from which he set off to the burning hell was just tens of kilometers away, yet Yi Yun took 2 whole days to reach this point. By the time he came close to the burning hell, Yi Yun had not rested for 2 days. As he was constantly on high alert, his forehead was now covered in sweat. Yi Yun held the Taitsang Bao tightly and breathed lightly. In Fallen Stargate, the Taitsang Bao and Thousand Army Saber were just a way to psychologically comfort himself. If he really met a desolate beast, these 2 weapons would be no different than toys in front of them. From Yi Yun's present location, he could already see the burning hell in its entirety. The burning hell may be said to be filled with eternal flames, which had been burning for tens of millions of years, but in reality, only when Yi Yun approached it did he clearly see that the burning hell was not burning with flames. It was filled with 5 colored light streams. These 5 colored light streams were all formed of pure yang qi. They danced within the burning hell and rose up like layers of divine clouds. They seemed to be filled with propitious omens. From afar, they were like patches of flames, lighting up the sky. Nearing the burning hell, Yi Yun felt the temperature reach an inconceivable level. All of his skin had been scorched by the burning hell's heat, as if it was about to split at any moment. Pure yang qi had many similarities with fire, but it was not fire. A piece of wood may burn, giving off light and heat in the dark. That was fire, but it could not be called pure yang. Only when a star burns, emitting the rays of a sun, that is what is considered as pure yang. Pure yang can give rise to fire, but fire is not necessarily able to evolve into pure yang. Yi Yun constantly adjusted the yuan qi within his body. He wanted to recover to a relatively optimal state before venturing into the burning hell. Oh. That is. Yi Yun constricted his pupils. With his spiritual energy interfacing with the purple crystal, he isolated his body's energy from the external world, entering a breathless state. He saw 6 to 7 desolate beasts jumping around in the burning hell. As they traversed the land, they were also respirating the burning hell's pure yang qi. From the purple crystal's energy vision, Yi Yun could clearly see that these desolate beasts were 3-meter-tall fire monkeys. They were all stout, with golden green eyes. In this world's legendary myths, there was a stone monkey that was burned by true chaotic fire, but not only did it not die, it became a great sage amongst desolate beasts. It was an existence that far exceeded human sages. The fire monkeys in front of him naturally had no relations to the stone monkey refined by the true chaotic fire, but they were still far from anything Yi Yun could handle. Such desolate beasts, which could easily traverse through the burning hell and respirate its pure yang qi, were definitely stronger than the mutated 3-eyed spider Yi Yun had previously encountered. This bunch of monkeys sure is troubling. Yi Yun leaned his back against a rock and did not move. If not for the purple crystal sealing his energy within his body, his fate if noticed by any of these fire monkeys would be clear. Only when he came to Fallen Stargate did Yun feel that his power was so minute. Just any random existence here could easily annihilate him. This made Yun even more determined to investigate the burning hell. He wanted to know what the purple crystal was calling out to. Yun could not enter the burning hell with these fire monkeys present. Ignoring him entering the burning hell, Yun did not even dare to move one bit while they were around. If he suddenly left, he might very well be discovered by the fire monkeys. He would have to wait quietly. But the fire monkeys seemed to be hooked on cultivating here. Many desolate beasts would cultivate for months, years, or even longer as they respirated the essence of the moon and sun. Beads of sweat dripped down Yun's hair. Once the beads of sweat left the purple crystal's area of influence, they would evaporate in an instant due to the high temperature of the burning hell. Yun quietly counted the time. He estimated that he had waited here for at least 20 hours now. Upon counting, he had already spent 3 days within Fallen Stargate. The longer he stayed here, the more likely it was that an accident would happen. And after not resting or sleeping for 3 days straight, Yun's physical strength was beginning to decline. His mental strength was also becoming worn out from the high tension. Yun gritted his teeth and did no slack off. He carried on maintaining the energy vision. It was the crutch his life depended on. Without the energy vision, Yun would not have discovered many of the lurking desolate beasts just with the help of his heaven's eyeball. Thankfully, desolate beasts had a very strong territorial sense. This group of fire monkeys that stayed within the burning hell seemed to have a certain status. When they stayed here, no other desolate beasts ventured close. This ensured Yun's safety. Time passed again and another 2 hours was gone. At this moment, a shrill shriek suddenly sounded out in the burning hell. Shao! It was like the call of a bird. However, its sonorous voice exceeded the limits of Yun's imagination. This bird call created visible ripples in the air, as if they were scattered and exploded due to a shock wave. Pang! This sudden sound wave caused Yun's blood flow to reverse. His heartbeat stagnated. His organs felt intense pain and blood flew out from both of his ears. What monster is it? Yun did not have time to think about it. He quickly ate a relic to control his body's injuries. At this moment, a fierce wind set off within the burning hell. The serene burning fire-colored, pure Yun flames turned chaotic due to the fierce wind. A rainbow-colored firebird, with beautiful feathers and a wingspan of more than 10 meters, charged out from the deep depths of the burning hell. This firebird looked like a phoenix. It had sharp claws, and its body was burning with flames. The fierce windstorm that now swept up the burning hell was actually caused by the flapping of the firebird's wings. In the burning hell's perimeters, the group of playing fire apes gave off a strange call before they scattered at the sudden sight of the firebird rushing out from deep within the burning hell. The firebird's golden eyes reflected coldness. It stretched out its sharp claws and with lightning speed caught 2 fire monkeys and flew up. Roar! Roar! The fire monkeys roared angrily. They were also powerful desolate beasts, so they naturally resisted when they were suddenly caught. They used their strong arms to grab the firebird's claws, hoping to break them apart, but it was all in vain. The claw cut into the fire monkey's entrails like a sharp saber. The 2 fire monkeys bled from all orifices as their bodies were ripped to shreds while their body twitched. The firebird brought the 2 fire monkeys' corpse up to a stone mountain. It landed on the mountain peak like a falling boulder, smashing apart a large amount of red boulders. Yun was holding in breath from beginning to end. He was extremely shocked. Such strong fire monkeys had been killed by this firebird, without being able to resist in any way? This firebird was too heaven-defying. What bird was this? Was it a rainbow blood feather? Yun recalled the Pure Yang primordial species statue placed within the Tai Divine City's Wilderness Divine Hall 6. The statue was that of a rainbow blood feather, but in comparison, there were some differences with this firebird. Actually, when many desolate beasts which reached such a level, they would all have their individual differences. Due to their upbringing and the treasures they ate, the heaven-earth essence they absorbed would be different. Hence, they would have different looks and different abilities. Oh? Its back is injured? Yi-Yun looked at the back of the firebird. There was a gruesome wound there, as if it had been pierced through by a spear. The wound was about the size of a wash basin. The flesh around it had been ripped open, allowing one to see the white bones and internal organs. Around the wound's edges were traces of burning. This made Yi-Yun feel his heartbeat freeze. What sort of existence could hurt such a strong firebird? The wound looked new, and it was not surprising that the firebird was injured deep within the burning hell. This burning hell! Yi-Yun held his breath. If there was something within the burning hell that could harm the firebird, then, if he were to enter, that sort of existence could annihilate him using just 1% of its strength. At this moment, the firebird at the top of the stone mountain began devouring the corpses of the two fire monkeys. It tore off the limbs of the fire monkeys and swallowed them whole. The pure yang energy within the fire monkeys were absorbed by the firebird, and slowly, the wound on its back began to heal. Many powerful desolate beasts had extremely strong healing abilities. This firebird was no exception, but the wound on its back seemed to contain some form of mysterious energy. Once it healed, it would split apart again. This went on again and again. So the reason why the firebird ate the fire monkey was to heal. But what hurt it? Yi-Yun turned around and looked towards the burning hell. The fire monkeys along the burning hell's outskirts ran away a long time ago. What was left was the serene five-colored flames which burned. It was like a mysterious aurora, covering the world beneath the burning hell. What was in there? After the firebird finished off the fire monkey's corpses, it spread its wings and flew away. Yi-Yun gripped the Taitsong tightly, and with his body flashing, he rushed into the vast sea of flames. Chapter 293, Seven-Colored Radiance. In the burning hell, the five-colored cloudy mist formed layers. The temperature of this flame, which was formed after pure yang qi accumulated to an extreme extent, was terrifying. Yi-Yun felt that this burning hell was like the sun, mounted inside the divine wilderness. Entering the burning hell was like entering the sun itself. With Yi-Yun's cultivation level, it was impossible for him to endure the scorching heat of the pure yang flames. The only thing he could rely on was the purple crystal. With the purple crystal's energy control, he could ward off the rich, pure yang energy inside the burning hell. Buzz. Yi-Yun interfaced his spiritual energy with the purple crystal and it formed a golden spiral. However, this spiral was diverging out instead of in. Previously, the spirals that Yi-Yun conjured with the purple crystal were used to absorb energy. This time, however, he was using it to ward off energy. Waves of pure yang energy dispersed like the receding tide, while Yi-Yun ran towards the far ends of the burning hell as if he was a fish in the water. The burning hell within Fallen Stargate was the size of a huge hole. The burning hell extended deep underground. The deeper he went, the higher the temperature of the burning flames became. Although Yi-Yun had the purple crystal to protect him, he still felt hot. As the pure yang qi was too dense and Yi-Yun's spiritual energy was limited, he could control the purple crystal, but it was imperfect. Occasionally, some pure yang qi would seep through the purple crystal's protection and flow into Yi-Yun's meridians. Just a trace of this pure yang qi entering his body made Yi-Yun suddenly feel like his organs were set on fire. It felt like his body was starting to char from the burning sensation alone. Such powerful pure yang energy. Yi-Yun closed his eyes to concentrate, circulating his yuan qi to an extreme. Using the purple crystal and the Taya sacred technique, Yi-Yun barely managed to control the trace of pure yang energy that entered his body. He then slowly refined it, letting it enter his meridians, slowly accumulating it within his dantian and making it a part of his own strength. When the trace of pure yang energy becoming a part of him, Yi-Yun could feel his yuan qi grow thicker. His Taya sacred technique had also progressed. If he could cultivate the Taya sacred technique for prolonged periods of time in this pure yang burning hell, it would make things much easier. But this place was too dangerous. If it wasn't for the purple crystal, his meridians would easily be burned by the pure yang energy while cultivating here. Besides that, there were also various kinds of powerful desolate beasts within Fallen Stargate. That was the greatest danger. Yi Yun was careful throughout his journey. He used his energy vision to alert him of his surroundings. In the pure yang burning hell, whether it was one's perception or visibility, they were greatly weakened by the wanton energy. It wasn't only Yi Yun, even the desolate beasts had the same problems. Even if a human sage were to come here, he would experience the same thing. But Yi Yun's energy vision was nearly 50 kilometers in radius. He could clearly detect any hints of trouble in this radius. Yi Yun saw a desolate beast the size of a small mountain. Its body was covered in crimson scale armor. It was like a red boulder, lurking quietly within the burning hell. Its head and limbs could not be seen. They were all retracted inside its scale armor, as if it was in hibernation. Yi Yun could not find any record of this red-scaled desolate beast in the Divine Wilderness book. He did not care if it was hibernating or not, he still used the most cautious attitude to go around it. Due to the burning hell's funnel shape, it was narrower at the bottom than the top. Yi Yun was moving down vertically, so he could see the burning hell's walls. It was a wide stretch of strange jagged rocks. They were dark red in color, as if they were red-hot iron. Oh! The remnant bones of desolate beasts can easily be burned to ashes in this burning hell, yet these rocks are perfectly fine here? Yi Yun found it weird, so he used his perception to explore the wall, but there was nothing special about it. They seemed to be like ordinary rocks. Really fascinating. Yi Yun suddenly had a thought. According to normal circumstances, this burning hell should not have formed a boundary with the external world. Because if there was a border, that border should have been burned by the pure yang fire. He could not understand it, nor did Yi Yun carry on thinking about it. He only felt that there was some sort of invisible law restricting the burning hell, making it so that the flames could not burn through the border. Upon getting tens of kilometers deep into the burning hell, something drifted into Yi Yun's vision. When Yi Yun focused his gaze, he found out that it was a remnant skeleton. The skeleton was more than 10 meters long and it looked extremely incomplete. He could no longer tell what desolate beast it was. This skeleton had been burned by the pure yang fire, leaving it filled with cracks. The power of desolates within it had been burned away cleanly, and it seemed that the desolate beast skeleton would burn to ashes before long. In the burning hell, no desolate beast corpse could be left behind. A desolate beast's corpse, which was filled with treasures, was slowly destroyed by the pure yang flames here. What a pity! Yi Yun shook his head slightly. If it had not been burned by the pure yang flames and he brought this unknown desolate beast's corpse back, it would be worth a fortune, allowing him to exchange it for a massive amount of dragon scale runes. This was all wealth, allowing him to exchange for numerous resources. Yi Yun felt a pinch in his heart. If only these desolate beasts died outside the burning hell. Leaving them here to burn like firewood was such a waste of heavenly treasures. Forget it. With the purple crystal, my goals should not be limited to such a scope. It's just the remnant bones of an unknown desolate beast. In the future, with my own martial arts path, such bones would be nothing in retrospect. My scope is not so small, so what if I didn't obtain this desolate beast's corpse? Although Yi Yun said so, he still picked up a few bones that seemed presentable from the remnant skeleton, quietly placing them into his interspatial ring. As he ventured further down, the purple crystal's guidance was still intermittent. But its direction was very clear. It was in the far ends of the burning hell. After going down several kilometers, Yi Yun was still as cautious as ever. At this moment, Yi Yun felt like he had just passed through a thin membrane. Below this membrane, the pure yang flames manifested forms, transforming from the original 5 colors to 7 colors. This 7-colored radiance was like the world's prettiest clouds. It was filled with mystery and beauty, but it was also full of danger. Within the clouds, the pure yang flames gathered together, manifesting the shapes of birds or beasts. They looked extremely lifelike. It was as if these flames had a spiritual trace within them. Upon reaching this depth, Yi Yun began to struggle in controlling the purple crystal. There was more and more pure yang qi seeping through the purple crystal's defense, flowing into Yi Yun's body and into his meridians. To overcome this brutal energy made Yi Yun feel extreme pain. At the same time, his yuan qi carried on thickening. This made Yi Yun feel a sense of strange enjoyment. To cultivate here in the burning hell, it could be described with the words pain and pleasure. Suddenly, Yi Yun felt the purple crystal within his body throb. It suddenly became a little bit more intense. It was a trivial change, yet it made Yi Yun extremely overjoyed. Is it here? Yi Yun held his breath and followed the purple crystal's guidance as he passed through the flaming clouds. The further he went, the more careful he became in order to not fail while making the final effort. Author's note: recently I've been having a lot of mental blocks. The Divine Wilderness Adventure is quite a test of my imagination, knocked out face. Chapter 294, Burning Hell Huge Flower. Currently, there was a stone cliff stretching into the distance in front of Yi Yun. The spot where the purple crystal was pointing to was within this stone wall. Stone wall. Yi Yun frowned slightly. This stone wall did not seem peculiar. Could there be some mechanism to it? Yi Yun reached out and touched the stone wall. The stone wall was scorching hot. Even with the purple crystal protecting his hand, Yi Yun found it unbearable. He found nothing, yet the purple crystal was pointing here. There had to be something odd with this stone wall. The burning hell's temperature was so high, yet it was unable to burn or melt this stone wall. Yi Yun pulled out his 1,000 army saber and slashed out a chunk of rock. Yi Yun examined the dark red stone in his hand again and again, but he could not discover anything special about it. Yi Yun circulated the Taiya sacred technique and injected yuan qi into the rock. Pang! The rock exploded, turning to dust. This dust spread over the burning hell, yet it did not get burned into ashes by the pure yang flames. Yi Yun took a deep breath. In the past tens of millions of years, an uncountable number of sages had visited Fallen Stargate, attempting to discover its secrets, yet they all failed. This resulted in a loss of interest towards Fallen Stargate amongst many mighty figures in the recent million years. Fallen Stargate's secrets were extremely well hidden. He was unable to unearth the secrets even with the purple crystal. When Yi Yun came to this conclusion, he calmed his mind. Yi Yun opened the purple crystal's vision and explored the smooth stony surface. With the purple crystal's vision, the stone face was shining brightly. Strands of mysterious energy gathered together. And this energy was unable to erupt outwards as it seemed to be constrained. As Yi Yun looked at the wall, a brilliant idea flashed in his head. He raised the 1,000 army saber and injected radiant sun qi into the saber before slashing at the area where the energy was focused. Pang! Radiant sun qi exploded, and this slash was like a heavy rock entering a pool of still water in Yi Yun's energy vision. The energy restraint was broken, and all the energy gushed out, eventually forming a mysterious bright black blob of light. It slowly rose to the stone wall's surface. Above the blob of light, there was energy flowing around. It made one feel fresh. This is... Yi Yun's heart thumped. He had finally discovered something unusual. This black blob of light could only be seen using Yi Yun's purple crystal energy vision. It was invisible to the naked eye. Yi Yun hesitated for a while before carefully touching the black blob of light. The light blob was not hot to the touch, but it simply emitted a bit of warmth. Yi Yun felt like he was touching a warm piece of jade. Yi Yun attempted moving the blob of light, hoping to see if there was some mechanism to it, but he failed. The light blob was impervious to outside forces. Yi Yun's hand went straight through it. Yi Yun did not know what to do. After his repeated attempts failed, he even tried to use the purple crystal to absorb the energy within the blob of light, but he realized that this energy was locked by certain array techniques, preventing him from absorbing it. The purple crystal's control of energy was not omnipotent. Back when Yi Yun was in the Wilderness Divine Hall, it was also extremely difficult to absorb the primordial species energy through the Great Yin Gold. A few hours had passed as Yi Yun tried various methods, but the light blob remained motionless. Yi Yun was completely out of ideas. He had found a mysterious light blob using the purple crystal. What was it? Was the purple crystals throbbing because of this blob? Yi Yun had taken a huge risk, and yet just as he discovered the secrets behind this place, he was unable to crack it. This made him frustrated. He could not return empty-handed. Yet, if he were to continue staying here, he would be at a loss as to what to do. Oh! Suddenly, Yi Yun had an idea. He took a few steps to the side, and as he slowly walked, he made sure to focus on the changes of the purple crystal. The purple crystal's guidance led Yi Yun to find another spot. This place. Yi Yun's eyes flashed. There was another energy focal point here as well. Yi Yun slashed at it with the Thousand Army Saber. Cha! The energy balance was broken once again, and another energy blob rose to the stone wall's surface. This blob of light was about the same size as the first blob of light, but its color was different. The first light blob was black, but this light blob was dark red in color. There was not only one light blob. Yi Yun carried on searching, and with the purple crystal's guidance, he found more light blobs, one after another. The distance between these light blobs were sometimes far and sometimes near. They were placed seemingly in a random fashion. But there were only two kinds of colors, black and dark red. There are too many. Yi Yun used a few hours' time to discover more than 100 light blobs. All these light blobs were scattered within the stone wall and looked extremely spectacular. Could it be a huge array? That was the first thought Yi Yun had when he saw these light blobs. This was very likely an array set up by a peerless expert. Yi Yun had little understanding over array methods, and he was inferior to Tai a Divine Kingdom's array masters. He could not break a normal array, what more a peerless array? Now, he was clueless facing these numerous blobs of light. This puzzle is too hard. Yi Yun frowned. In the past tens of millions of years, many sages came back with nothing after probing Fallen Stargate. They could not even find these blobs of light. Without the purple crystal's energy vision, even if they conjured the light blobs, they could not even see it. And there were so many light blobs. The probability of conjuring all of them was extremely improbable. Now, Yi Yun had everything with the purple crystal, yet he could not understand the light blob array. Thinking of this, Yi Yun was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. He was just one step away from success. Was he going to fail after putting in so much effort and undertaking so much risk? Oh! Wait! Yi Yun's heart thumped. The purple crystals had another sudden odd throb. A vague feeling made Yi Yun hold his breath. What is it now? This feeling was completely different from the tiny throbs the light blobs created. This made Yi Yun's heart beat faster. Could it be the key point to the array? Yi Yun used the purple crystal to converge all his body's energy before slowly approaching the spot the purple crystal detected. After going around a stone forest, where the stones seemed like erected swords, Yi Yun was extremely shocked to see what was behind the stone forest. Behind the stone forest, there was a basin. Unexpectedly, there was a huge flower growing within the basin. The flower's stem was more than 10 meters tall, and about 4 or 5 people had to hug it to completely encircle it. Its huge leaves were the size of houses. The flower was in full bloom and there were 7 petals. Each petal had its own color. The petals were plump and extremely beautiful. It was a 7-colored flower. And these 7 colors corresponded to the 7 colors of the 7-colored radiance. It shocked one down to their spirit. Fascinating. It was the first time Yi-Yun saw such a large flower. What surprised Yi-Yun the most was that this flower was growing in the burning hell. The temperature here was extremely high, so much so that even pure yang elemental beasts did not dare enter. Yet, this mysterious flower was able to be in full bloom here. This divine wilderness world was filled with endless magnificence. It was filled with an endless number of powerful desolate beasts, and there was also such a mysterious flower. Although the mysterious flower was pretty, it was unlikely to be the key point of the array. It was likely a fascinating plant that grew in the burning hell. Oh. That is. Yi-Yun suddenly held his breath. He noticed that there was a mysterious flame quietly burning right in the middle of the huge flower. This flame was also 7-colored. It emitted a faint halo, which made him feel dreamy. Yi-Yun used the purple crystal's energy vision to look at it. The 7-colored flame was like a tiny sundae. It emitted infinite brilliance and heat. It filled the energy vision with the 7 beautiful colors. Could this be? Yi-Yun held his breath. He recalled the information he previously read on Pure Yang Qi. There were also records in the Taiya sacred technique. This was likely a Pure Yang spirit. When Pure Yang Qi became infinitely thick, it would give birth to a Pure Yang spirit after a very long period of time. A Pure Yang spirit could physically transform a person, leading them to possess a Pure Yang body. At the same time, the Pure Yang spirit was an extremely great gift that enriched cultivators of the Taiya sacred technique. If a warrior absorb a Pure Yang spirit and then cultivate the Taiya sacred technique, the speed of cultivation would improve at a tremendous pace. The Taiya sacred technique moves powered by the Pure Yang spirit were also extremely powerful. I actually managed to encounter a Pure Yang spirit. Yi-Yun's heart beat like a drum. It was a tremendous fortuitous opportunity. Chapter 295, Pure Yang Spirit. Although Yi-Yun was extremely excited, he did not lose his cool. He knew that although the Pure Yang spirit was good, it was nearly impossible for him to absorb it as a Purple Blood Realm warrior. The energy contained within the Pure Yang spirit was too strong. It could really be described as a tiny sundae. If a Purple Blood Realm warrior were to absorb a small sun into his body, he was destined to die from burnt innards. Directly consuming the Pure Yang spirit was equivalent to committing suicide. Actually, even sages would not dare to do so. In the records written within the books Yi-Yun read, there was once a sage desolate heaven master in the Taiya divine kingdom who tried to refine the Pure Yang spirit into a desolate bone relic to slowly absorb it. But during the refinement process, due to the Pure Yang spirit's wanton energy, the furnace was destroyed. Yi-Yun was clearly aware of the Pure Yang spirit's terror. He did not dare to approach it without thought. The only thing Yi-Yun could rely on now was the purple crystal. It was impossible to consume the Pure Yang spirit directly, so he could only absorb the Pure Yang spirit's energy using the purple crystal from a distance. Yi-Yun felt somewhat depressed when he thought about it. The Pure Yang spirit contained too much energy within it and Yi-Yun's cultivation level was limited. It was impossible for him to absorb the Pure Yang spirit's energy bit by bit with the purple crystal. His body could not accommodate that much energy. Only a desolate beast could eat such an item. How much could a kitten eat? What was he to do with the leftovers? Was he going to just leave it here? The next time he came, the Pure Yang spirit might already have changed locations, and it would not be easy for him to find it again. All these thoughts flashed through Yi-Yun's mind. He only felt his heart ache. First, he had been led by the purple crystal to the light blob array, but he could not break the array. He could not grab an opportunity that was placed right in front of him. Next, he found the Pure Yang spirit, yet he could not consume it. It was really maddening that he could not move this treasure mountain in front of him. Forget it. I'll absorb as much as I can. Yi Yun interfaced his spiritual energy with the purple crystal and began attempting to absorb the pure Yang spirit's energy. He circulated the Taya sacred technique to an extreme, for he was very aware that it was dangerous to just absorb a trace of the pure Yang spirit with his current strength. A wave of pure Yang Qi was pulled towards Yi Yun using the purple crystal's force. But the pure Yang spirit only shook a bit. No energy came out of it. Oh! Yi Yun was slightly stunned. He had used the purple crystal to absorb the pure Yang spirit's energy, yet he had only absorbed the pure Yang Qi around it. He could not absorb the energy within the core? Why is this happening? Yi Yun did not believe in heresy, and he increased the suction power. A small purple swirl appeared in the purple crystal once again. But even so, there was no reaction from the pure Yang spirit. The seven-colored flower even seemed to slightly vibrate as its petals seemed to close. Yi Yun zoned out. What? Yi Yun was dumbfounded when he saw the petals close slowly as if it was going to wrap the pure Yang spirit. What was going on? He could not absorb anything from the pure Yang spirit with the purple crystal, yet this pure Yang spirit was receding? This seven-colored flower grew up in the burning hell, so Yi Yun guessed that attacking it was pointless. If he suddenly attacked it, he might receive the seven-colored flower's counterattack. This seven-colored flower most likely had turned sentient. Yes, sentience. Yi Yun suddenly realized this thought. He finally understood why he was unable to absorb the pure Yang spirit's energy. The purple crystal could only absorb energy without an owner, but it could not rob energies that belonged to another living being. For example, the energy within dead primordial species and dead herbs was energy without any owners. The purple crystal was unable to absorb the energy within true living beings. For example, back when Yi Yun captured the heaven purple Yang ginseng, the purple crystal was unable to absorb the energy within it through thin air as it was still alive. Now, the pure Yang spirit possessed sentience. It was not too much to say that it had life, hence the purple crystal was helpless against it. Upon thinking of this, he felt as if 10,000 F*****KU horses were trampling him. He nearly vomited blood. What the heck? He found the light blob array, yet he could not crack it. He saw the pure Yang spirit, but he was already disappointed that he could not take it away. Next, he realized that he could not absorb even a drop of energy. He could see it, but not eat it. Did he spend so much effort just to watch a show? Yi Yun was going mad in his mind. He could not bear the impulse to rush forward with the 1,000 army saber to slash at the seven-colored flower. Of course, that was just a thought. He was aware that with his strength, he was helpless against the seven-colored flower. At this moment, Yi Yun felt a shiver in his heart. There was another unnatural movement in his energy vision. And this movement was completely different from the previous ones. Something filled with murderous intent was charging straight towards him. A desolate beast. Without any hesitation, Yi Yun leaped up and raced away. At the same time, he used the purple crystal to seal his energy within his body and held his breath. Yi Yun knew that any desolate beast that appeared in the burning hell was an existence he definitely could not deal with. Shao! Yi Yun heard the shrill call of a bird. It was ear-piercing. This bird call sounded familiar. Yi Yun felt his heart go cold. It was the firebird that he saw near the exterior perimeter of the burning hell. A firebird that could easily devour a fire monkey with unfathomable strength could rip him apart easily with one swipe. Yi Yun did not turn around. He opened up his energy vision to look at the situation behind him. He saw a huge firebird in the burning hell plummeting straight down with its wings outstretched. Its feathers were bright-colored as it dragged a rainbow flame behind it. Its goal was the seven-colored flower growing in the basin. Pang! The firebird's large claws grabbed the thick flower stem and pecked at the seven-colored flower's corolla with its sharp beak. The corolla deformed, but the seven-colored flower possessed amazing resilience. Its corolla did not break despite the firebirds tearing at it. Phew! With a clear sound, a seven-colored flame surged out from the flower's core, heading straight towards the firebird. This was the Pure Yang spirit's retaliation. Seeing the Pure Yang spirit's attack, the firebird gave a sharp cry as it went on full guard. Its feathers began to stand up like arrows. Sha! Its sharp claws swiped through the air as the firebird's claw grabbed the Pure Yang spirit. But even the firebird could not endure the burning Pure Yang fire. Its claw was quickly burnt, as patches of bloody skin fell off, leaving it bloodied. The original wound on its back opened up once again as blood spilled from it. Yun remembered that when he first saw the firebird in the burning hell's perimeter, he had seen a blood hole the size of a wash basin on its back. There were burn marks around the blood hole that revealed even its organs and bones. The firebird devoured the fire apes in order to heal its injuries. Now, after seeing the firebird try to capture the Pure Yang spirit, Yun understood that the large hole in the firebird's back was most likely left behind by the Pure Yang spirit. The firebird entered deep into the burning hell and it must have discovered the Pure Yang spirit early on. It had tried to swallow the Pure Yang spirit but was injured by it. It could even have managed to swallow the Pure Yang spirit, but it escaped from the firebird's body, leaving behind that shockingly large hole. The firebird came out of the burning hell to treat its wounds. Now, it had come back once again, precisely for the Pure Yang spirit. I actually tried to grab food from this monster's mouth. If it discovered my intentions, it would tear me to pieces regardless of anything. Yun felt some fear. Thankfully, he had his energy vision. In the burning hell, the perception of all desolate beasts were weakened. With his energy vision, Yun was able to discover the firebird early on. If he had been half a second slower, he would have been left without even a bone. The firebird cried as it flapped its wings and flew around wantonly. It set off a fierce storm in the burning hell. Large amounts of seven-colored radiance was swept up. Even though Yun was far away, he still could feel his face burn. His purple crystal's energy protection nearly cracked from the rampaging wind. It was like a fragile eggshell. Fearsome. Yun was filled with shock seeing the battle between the firebird and the Pure Yang spirit. Yun had no way of resisting such an existence in front of him. Even though the firebird had been seriously injured due to it swallowing the Pure Yang spirit, its remaining strength went far and beyond what Yun could handle. Yun still remembered that the firebird was still able to instantly kill two fire monkeys even with a large gaping hole in its back. He could only wait here till the firebird swallowed the Pure Yang spirit, or it leaving after it failed to devour the Pure Yang spirit once again. Only when the firebird left, then Yun could come out. As for what he could do once he stopped hiding, he had no clue. He would probably carry on studying the esoteric light blob array that might take him months and years to understand it. Yun also felt helpless when he thought of this. He had only himself to blame for his weakness. As for all the fortuitous opportunities he had encountered in the burning hell, he could get nothing from them. The firebird got to eat meat, but he did not even get the chance to get any leftovers. As Yun sighed, his limbs suddenly froze as he felt something in his heart. He felt that an instant ago, a murderous intent surged towards him, locking onto his position. What is it? Yun probed back as a reflex, and in his energy vision, there was no other desolate beast lurking in a 5-kilometer radius. There was only the firebird and the Pure Yang spirit. It was the murderous intent that the firebird emitted. It had discovered him. Yun gasped. He never expected the firebird to discover him who was completely hiding his presence while it was fighting with the Pure Yang spirit. It actually had such keen senses. Yes, this firebird had lived for tens of thousands of years. It may not be able to speak, but it was highly intelligent. It knew that it was weakest when it swallowed the Pure Yang spirit. If it was severely injured, near to the point of death, even a desolate beast at the level of a fire monkey could kill it. As such, it did not allow any threat to its existence be near it. in order to prevent a third party from benefiting from its struggles with the pure Yang spirit. Hence, as it was fighting with the pure Yang spirit, its senses were at its sharpest. When it scanned its surroundings carefully, it found Yi Yun. Yi Yun's palm was covered in cold sweat. It was like he had been dropped into an ice pit. What do I do now? He did not know how long the battle between the Firebird and the pure Yang spirit would last. And no matter whether it won or it was defeated, this place would become his burial ground if he carried on staying here. Escape! This was Yi Yun's first thought, but where could he escape to? This burning hell was extremely deep and it was fraught with dangers. When Yi Yun descended into this place, he used the purple crystal's vision to avoid all the desolate beasts and proceeded bit by bit. If he tried to escape out of here and used the turtle speed he used to avoid desolate beasts, then no matter how far he ran, he would be chased by the Firebird to his death. If his speed was too fast, then he would very likely rush into danger and be killed by other desolate beasts. Yi Yun quickly thought of the possibilities. This was the biggest crisis he had encountered ever since he came into this world. The Firebird's murderous intent locked onto Yi Yun without fail. Yi Yun stopped hiding as it was pointless at this point in time. Taking advantage of the battle between the Firebird and the pure Yang spirit, Yi Yun leaped up and no matter what, he had to first open a gap between him and the Firebird. At least this would give him the opportunity to respond. Phew, phew, phew. Below the burning hell, there were tumultuous winds blowing wantonly. The battle between the Firebird and the pure Yang spirit became more intense. If Yi Yun was to be embroiled in this storm, he would be pulverized. He had climbed to a height of 300 meters, yet his body still swayed as he was blown by the strong winds. In the process of escaping into the exterior, Yi Yun continued to use the energy vision to observe the battle between the Firebird and the pure Yang spirit. He was paying attention to every detail. He wanted to see if the Firebird would reveal any flaws, or maybe be killed by the pure Yang spirit. But Yi Yun was disappointed. The Firebird seemed to gradually gain the upper hand. It pecked again and again, almost devouring the pure Yang spirit. Oh! That light blob! In Yi Yun's energy vision, not only was the Firebird projected in it. The 100 light blobs on the stone wall was also projected into his vision. Yi Yun realized that no matter how strong the wind blew, the 100 light blobs did not move. Their energy did not even fluctuate as if it was unaffected by the stormy winds. At this moment, Yi Yun's life was on the line. Originally, he was not in the right mind to bother about these light blobs, but as he was at a distance of 300 meters away, he had changed his angle, allowing him to realize that the black and red light blobs, that did not seem to obey any rules, were scattered in a proper manner upon closer inspection. Neighboring light blobs were a fixed distance away from each other. And the distance between light blobs that were far away from each other was an integral multiplier of this shortest distance. This is... With a sweep of his perception, Yi Yun realized that the number of light blobs was not 100, but 99. 50 of the light blobs were pure black in color, while 49 light blobs were dark red. There was not one more or less. Could it be? Yi Yun suddenly felt enlightened. As he took advantage of the Firebird's preoccupation with devouring the pure Yang spirit, Yi Yun carried on going to a higher height. From a higher height, he looked at the light blob array below him from a different angle. The 99 light blobs could be seen in its entirety with his eyes. They shimmered above the dark red rocks. Their faint glow branded deep in Yi Yun's iris. An idea flashed like lightning in Yi Yun's mind. He suddenly realized that these 99 light blobs that formed an array was actually a board game. 50 black pieces and 49 red pieces. They were placed on a square lattice. They were interlaced with each other, forming some sort of pattern. Board game. Was this board game the secret behind Fallen Stargate? Yi Yun's heart raced. If he were to crack this board game, maybe the secrets of Meteorite Abyss would be revealed to him. He glanced at the Firebird who was fighting the pure Yang spirit and then at the board game. Various thoughts flashed through his mind. Escaping further up was basically a path that led to death. If he did not get chased by the Firebird, he would be killed by other desolate beasts as he haphazardly chose routes. Then, it was better to risk it all and see if he could crack the board game. The board game in front of him looked like Go. Although Yi-Yun had some experience with Go, his skills at it was definitely not good enough to break the difficulty level of such a mysterious board setup. Besides, the way it was played in this world might be different from the Go in Yi-Yun's previous life. That was to say, it was impossible for Yi-Yun to crack the Go game with his skills. He was completely at a loss as to what the next step was in this game. Shao! At this moment, he heard a shrill call that pierced throughout the burning hell. Yi-Yun turned his head and saw the Firebird's body burn in golden red flames. It seemed to be consuming itself in flames, and the flames that rose behind its back formed the image of a three-legged golden crow. Three-legged golden crow. Yi-Yun was shocked. The three-legged golden crow was a legendary primordial divine beast. 10 sons from Fusong, who masters pure yang. This was one of the phrases in the Taiya sacred technique general principles. The so-called 10 sons from Fusong referred to the 10 sons that rose above the Fusong tree. And in each son, there was one three-legged golden crow. The golden crow was a personification of a sun, and it was a spiritual embodiment of pure yang. This Firebird could condense a golden crow, proof that it had a trace of the ancient golden crow's bloodline. This Firebird was a golden crow species. A golden crow species was able to express its greatest combat power in this burning hell because it was filled with pure yang energy. It had used its ancestors' blood lineage, proving that this golden crow species was beginning to go all out. Yi-Yun held his breath. The time he had left was reducing. With the golden crow going all out, there would be an outcome in a short period of time, regardless of the outcome. But could he break the array in such a short amount of time? Yi-Yun adjusted his thoughts as he suppressed the panic within him. He looked at the large chessboard from several hundred meters high. Calm down. I need to calm down. Yi-Yun calmed down and realized that in the energy vision, the energy contained within the black and red pieces were distinct from each other. The red pieces represented pure yang energy, while the black pieces sealed within cold yin energy. Yin energy. Yi-Yun quickly thought over it. Although Meteorite Abyss was filled with pure yang energy to an extreme, it also had extreme yin energy. The ice rive and the deep pool illustrated that point. This was also the reason why Chu Xiaoran could train in Meteorite Abyss. There were opposing principles behind matter, and pure yang gave rise to yin. A pure yang mountain valley also contained pure yin. This created a form of balance. Yi-Yun looked at the board game below him where energy surged chaotically within. The 99 pieces and every piece's situation was reflected within Yi-Yun's mind. At the moment of life and death, humans would fall into two extremes. One was extreme panic, resulting in restlessness or to the point of a mental breakdown. Everything would fail as a result. The other was extreme calmness. One's brain would become clearer than ever before. And now, Yi-Yun was the latter. His mind was now so calm that he had abandoned all human emotions. Even the surrounding environment had disappeared for Yi-Yun. The strong winds and the flames of the burning hell, the intense battle between the pure yang spirit and the golden crow species had been forgotten by Yi-Yun. He only had the 99 pieces and their chaotic energy flow in his mind. After controlling the purple crystal for so long, Yi-Yun's had extraordinary acute intuition with regards to energy. Energy without constraints would flow in accordance to its natural laws. Its natural flow would form the most perfect and harmonious picture in the universe. As for the board game in front of him, there was a point which was disharmonious in 99 spots of energy flow. With the purple crystal's vision, Yi-Yun could drill right down to the energy origins, allowing the disharmony to become ever increasingly clear. The yin and yang were in an imbalance. Yi-Yun's mind flashed. The 99 pieces, of which 50 were pure yin, while 49 were pure yang. Yin flourished while yang was declined. And in Fallen Stargate, the burning hell was a place where yang flourished while yin declined. There was a possibility that this board game and Fallen Stargate would form a perfect balance. But there was an energy that was lacking, preventing this balance from being established. Yi Yun's mind became clearer. In his vision, even his body had disappeared. The energy that the 99 pieces in Fallen Stargate lacked when combined was clearly understood by Yi Yun. Yi Yun was enlightened suddenly. He roared as the purple crystal within him formed a huge energy swirl. All the surrounding heaven-earth yuan qi gathered towards Yi Yun. Yi Yun's eyes were like stars. After locking on in one direction, his body quickly rushed there. The 99 pieces and their energies were lacking one. He had to use his body to fill the gap. Yi Yun used the purple crystal to guide him as he brought the surging energy, finally landing on the board. That moment, Yi Yun's body turned into a game piece. The 100th piece. 99 plus 1 was 100. 99 returns to 1. 9 was the extreme number. And 99 was a number of utmost importance. Adding 1 to 99 returned back to 1. It was the same as reincarnation. This was a perfect balance. Yi Yun was the most critical one. When Yi Yun brought this lacking energy to inject into this board array, the entire array turned silent suddenly. The 99 light blobs suddenly darkened. The energy circulated as the array dimmed. It was like the calm before the storm. Yi Yun held his breath and looked at the 99 light blobs as they slowly sank into the ground. Boom! The entire stone wall began to tremor as rocks broke up, spewing pure yang out. A heavy bronze door slowly emerged from the ground. It emitted an old but infinitely vast presence. Yi Yun was deeply shocked by this presence. As he looked at the door, he felt that in front of it, he was as tiny as an ant. It was at a completely different level. On the door, there were ancient engravings that revealed the 4 divine beasts. They were the 5-clawed golden dragon, rainbow phoenix, fire qilin and 3-legged golden crow. The 4 divine beasts formed pairs. Every one of the engraved lines contained some great Tao law to it. Just a glance at it filled one with shock. What is this? Yi Yun felt that he was standing in front of a gate to another world. If he pushed open the door, he would enter another world. Chapter 297, The Broken World. Boom! As Yi Yun approached the bronze door, the door opened with a rumble. Suddenly, a forceful presence that seemed to contain the universe's great Tao origins surged forward. At the same time, a 7-colored whirlpool was forming in the pure yang burning hell, sucking the 7-colored radiance towards the large door. Bathed in this surging energy, Yi Yun did not hesitate and quickly rushed into the bronze doorway. Not far away, the golden crow species, who was battling the pure yang spirit, was alarmed by the bronze door. It looked in disbelief at the scene in front of its eyes. It had stayed in the burning hell for tens of thousands of years, and it never knew that there was such a door in the deep ends of the burning hell. In the split second the golden crow species was slightly distracted, the pure yang spirit's attack burnt a large patch of its feathers. The golden crow species let out an alarming scream as it retreated. The pure yang spirit may have been sentient, but it was all instinct and no wisdom. It did not know what the sudden opening of the bronze door meant. It had been attacked by the golden crow species and it had instinctively counterattacked. Other than that, everything else that happened in its surroundings had no significant meaning to it. The golden crow species had no way of making an agreement with the pure yang spirit to probe the bronze door together. Seeing the puny human being enter the bronze door to explore the secrets within, the golden crow species was in a rage. In its mind, this part of pure yang burning hell was its territory. Everything within this territory belonged to it. This bronze door that suddenly appeared was its, including everything within. How could it allow a puny human to plunder its items? The Golden Crow roared as it tried to break away from the pure Yang spirit and kill that puny human first. But the pure Yang spirit was like a maggot that latched on. It continuously burnt the Golden Crow species' feathers and flesh. If the Golden Crow retreated ever so slightly, it would launch a fierce attack, preventing the Golden Crow species from escaping. The Golden Crow species may be strong, but the pure Yang spirit was not something easy to handle either. It was an existence that even human sages had difficulty refining. The Golden Crow species was both anxious and furious. It was unable to break away from the pure Yang spirit completely. It was also afraid that the benefits past the bronze door would be taken away by Yi Yun. It gave out a sharp scream as it burnt a bit of its pure Yang blood. Burning pure Yang blood would temporarily give the Golden Crow species a burst of immense strength, but the after effects would make it extremely weak and exhausted for a long period of time. At this moment, the Golden Crow species could not care less. The flames burning on its body burned more fiercely as its strength rose to an extreme in an instant. Shao! The Golden Crow species let out a shrill cry as it extended its sharp claw and swiped at the pure Yang spirit without any regard. It used this attack method of harming 1,000 enemies, while sacrificing 800 to quickly end the match. Shie! 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 The pure Yang spirit charred a large portion of the Golden Crow species' flesh and blood, but the Golden Crow species ignored its injuries as it grabbed the pure Yang spirit and swallowed it. Previously, it had used the same method to swallow the pure Yang spirit, but as it did not deplete the pure Yang spirit of its energy, the pure Yang spirit was able to burn a hole through its body. It had learned from its mistakes. The Golden Crow species knew that using this method to kill the pure Yang spirit was extremely difficult. But it had no other choice. It had gone all out burning its blood, and with the burning flame that came out of it, it managed to temporarily suppress the pure Yang spirit. It had to take this opportunity to kill that human first. The human was weak and it could kill him in an instant. Following that, it could slowly deal with the pure Yang spirit within its stomach. In this way, it could swallow the pure Yang spirit and also kill that human, obtaining the exclusive opportunities within the bronze door. Shao! The Golden Crow species let out a sharp cry as it flew towards the bronze door. At this moment, Yi Yun had rushed into the world behind the bronze door. Phew! A misty light flashed as Yi Yun felt he had passed through a transparent membrane. His eyes lit up and what he saw in front of him was shocking. What was within the door was not some immortal cave that Yi Yun was expecting. This was a real world. It had mountains, rivers, lakes, and forests. The only thing was that the mountains had collapsed, the rivers were broken, the lakes were dry, and the forests withered. Everything he saw was shocking. This was a broken world. Yi Yun ran on the ground. There was ancient but pure Yuan Qi in the air. It made Yi Yun feel like his body was going through a cleansing baptism. It was not hard to imagine that this world was once a tremendous place, but now, there was nothing here. Yi Yun could not be bothered with exploring this broken world in detail. He used all his strength to run, hoping to find a glimmer of hope in this world. The bronze door had opened, but it did not close. Yi Yun did not know when it would close, but it meant that the Golden Crow species would chase after him at any time. Without touching the ground, Yi Yun jumped across a dried-up lake. On the edge of the dried-up lake, there was a collapsed celestial palace. The ancient stone walls had already cracked, but it still gave off a luster that was like jade. It seemed like infinite time was not enough to leave a mark on these stone walls. Even a celestial palace had collapsed. Yi Yun was greatly shocked seeing this. Seeing the remnants of the building, it was as if there were still lingering sentiments, experiencing thousands of years without dispersing. Even after becoming a ruin, it still gave one a feeling of greatness and a forbidding presence. It was hard to imagine how grand this place was in its past. It could even be the palace of a great emperor. Yi Yun did not dare to stay put. He went around the collapsed site, and behind it, there was a dried-up riverbed. This river was tens of kilometers wide, and had been dried up for an unknown number of years. According to Yi Yun's understanding, once a river dried up, it would slowly be filled by dust and sand, eventually completely losing any trace of it. But this river was not like that. As he looked down at the riverbed, Yi Yun felt his heart go cold. There were bones piled in this river. The bones were mostly from unknown creatures. Some of the bones were extremely huge, as if they were the size of mountain ridges as they laid in the riverbed. There were also bones the size of dogs and cats that were half buried in the ground. Amongst them, there were human bones. Some of the bones even sparkled. There was pure yang qi seeping out from the bone, slowly dispersing into the environment. If a bone could still shine after experiencing thousands of years, it showed how strong the person was while they were alive. But such a person and all these powerful creatures were now all dead. Even the world was on the brink of destruction. Yi Yun did not know what this world had experienced or how big it was. According to the books, the history behind Meteorite Abyss was that a huge star had fallen into the divine wilderness, smashing Meteorite Abyss open. If so, this world could not be too big, or the entire divine wilderness would also disappear. Maybe what crashed down was just an edge of a broken world. Then, what had happened to the original world? Why would a fragment of that world pass through the vast universe and finally crash into the divine wilderness? Yi Yun found it hard to believe, but he was sure that the past residents of this world were all extraordinary existences. The Taiya Divine Kingdom was nothing compared to them. Although there were many such thoughts flying through Yi Yun's mind, he did not slow down at all. Oh. That is. Yi Yun's eyes lit up. He saw a mountain far in the distance. The mountain peak protruded like a divine sword piercing through the blue sky. And at the top of the snow-capped mountain, there was a palace. It was a complete palace that had not collapsed. The entire palace gave off a faint glow, making one feel relaxed and happy. A mountain that has not crumbled, and it is a complete palace on the mountain. Yi Yun held his breath. Could there be inheritance left behind by mighty figures in the palace? Yi Yun increased his speed as he hurtled towards the palace. At this moment, Yi Yun suddenly heard a sharp shrill behind him. Turning his head, he saw the golden crow species spreading its wings as it flew towards him while screaming. Its body was in flames as it traveled at a shocking speed. The golden crow species had rage in its eyes. It seemed like it wanted to tear Yi Yun to pieces. Trouble. Yi Yun felt his skin go numb. At this moment, the golden crow species was chasing him. With its speed, it might catch up to him before he reached the celestial palace. Yi Yun gritted his teeth and raised his speed to an extreme. The golden crow species was in hot pursuit behind him. Chapter 297, The Broken World. Boom! As Yi Yun approached the bronze door, the door opened with a rumble. Suddenly, a forceful presence that seemed to contain the universe's great Tao origins surged forward. At the same time, a seven-colored whirlpool was forming in the pure yang burning hell, sucking the seven-colored radiance towards the large door. Bathed in this surging energy, Yi Yun did not hesitate and quickly rushed into the bronze doorway. Not far away, the golden crow species, who was battling the pure yang spirit, was alarmed by the bronze door. It looked in disbelief at the scene in front of its eyes. It had stayed in the burning hell for tens of thousands of years, and it never knew that there was such a door in the deep ends of the burning hell. In the split second the golden crow species was slightly distracted, the pure yang spirit's attack burnt a large patch of its feathers. The golden crow species let out an alarming scream as it retreated. The pure yang spirit may have been sentient, but it was all instinct and no wisdom. It did not know what the sudden opening of the bronze door meant. It had been attacked by the golden crow species and it had instinctively counterattacked. Other than that, everything else that happened in its surroundings had no significant meaning to it. The golden crow species had no way of making an agreement with the pure yang spirit to probe the bronze door together. Seeing the puny human being enter the bronze door to explore the secrets within, the golden crow species was in a rage. In its mind, this part of Pyongyang burning hell was its territory. Everything within this territory belonged to it. This bronze door that suddenly appeared was its, including everything within. How could it allow a puny human to plunder its items? The golden crow roared as it tried to break away from the Pyongyang spirit and kill that puny human first. But the Pyongyang spirit was like a maggot that latched on. It continuously burnt the golden crow species' feathers and flesh. If the golden crow retreated ever so slightly, it would launch a fierce attack, preventing the golden crow species from escaping. The golden crow species may be strong, but the Pyongyang spirit was not something easy to handle either. It was an existence that even human sages had difficulty refining. The golden crow species was both anxious and furious. It was unable to break away from the Pyongyang spirit completely. It was also afraid that the benefits past the bronze door would be taken away by Yi Yun. It gave out a sharp scream as it burnt a bit of its Pyongyang blood. Burning Pyongyang blood would temporarily give the golden crow species a burst of immense strength, but the after effects would make it extremely weak and exhausted for a long period of time. At this moment, the golden crow species could not care less. The flames burning on its body burned more fiercely as its strength rose to an extreme in an instant. Shao! The golden crow species let out a shrill cry as it extended its sharp claw and swiped at the Pyongyang spirit without any regard. It used this attack method of harming 1,000 enemies, while sacrificing 800 to quickly end the match. Xie! 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 The Pyongyang spirit charred a large portion of the golden crow species' flesh and blood, but the golden crow species ignored its injuries as it grabbed the Pyongyang spirit and swallowed it. Previously, it had used the same method to swallow the Pyongyang spirit, but as it did not deplete the Pyongyang spirit of its energy, the Pyongyang spirit was able to burn a hole through its body. It had learned from its mistakes. The golden crow species knew that using this method to kill the Pyongyang spirit was extremely difficult. But it had no other choice. It had gone all out burning its blood, and with the burning flame that came out of it, it managed to temporarily suppress the Pyongyang spirit. It had to take this opportunity to kill that human first. The human was weak and it could kill him in an instant. Following that, it could slowly deal with the Pyongyang spirit within its stomach. In this way, it could swallow the Pyongyang spirit and also kill that human, obtaining the exclusive opportunities within the bronze door. Shao! The golden crow species let out a sharp cry as it flew towards the bronze door. At this moment, Yi Yun had rushed into the world behind the bronze door. Phew! A misty light flashed as Yi Yun felt he had passed through a transparent membrane. His eyes lit up and what he saw in front of him was shocking. What was within the door was not some immortal cave that Yi Yun was expecting. This was a real world. It had mountains, rivers, lakes, and forests. The only thing was that the mountains had collapsed, the rivers were broken, the lakes were dry, and the forests withered. Everything he saw was shocking. This was a broken world. Yi Yun ran on the ground. There was ancient but pure yuan qi in the air. It made Yi Yun feel like his body was going through a cleansing baptism. It was not hard to imagine that this world was once a tremendous place, but now, there was nothing here. Yi Yun could not be bothered with exploring this broken world in detail. He used all his strength to run, hoping to find a glimmer of hope in this world. The bronze door had opened, but it did not close. Yi Yun did not know when it would close, but it meant that the golden crow species would chase after him at any time. Without touching the ground, Yi Yun jumped across a dried-up lake. On the edge of the dried-up lake, there was a collapsed celestial palace. The ancient stone walls had already cracked, but it still gave off a luster that was like jade. It seemed like infinite time was not enough to leave a mark on these stone walls. Even a celestial palace had collapsed. Yi Yun was greatly shocked seeing this. Seeing the remnants of the building, it was as if there were still lingering sentiments, experiencing thousands of years without dispersing. Even after becoming a ruin, it still gave one a feeling of greatness and a forbidding presence. It was hard to imagine how grand this place was in its past. It could even be the palace of a great emperor. Yi Yun did not dare to stay put. He went around the collapsed site, and behind it, there was a dried-up river bed. This river was tens of kilometers wide, and had been dried up for an unknown number of years. According to Yi Yun's understanding, once a river dried up, it would slowly be filled by dust and sand, eventually completely losing any trace of it. But this river was not like that. As he looked down at the riverbed, Yi Yun felt his heart go cold. There were bones piled in this river. The bones were mostly from unknown creatures. Some of the bones were extremely huge, as if they were the size of mountain ridges as they laid in the riverbed. There were also bones the size of dogs and cats that were half buried in the ground. Amongst them, there were human bones. Some of the bones even sparkled. There was pure yang qi seeping out from the bone, slowly dispersing into the environment. If a bone could still shine after experiencing thousands of years, it showed how strong the person was while they were alive. But such a person and all these powerful creatures were now all dead. Even the world was on the brink of destruction. Yi Yun did not know what this world had experienced or how big it was. According to the books, the history behind Meteorite Abyss was that a huge star had fallen into the divine wilderness, smashing Meteorite Abyss open. If so, this world could not be too big, or the entire divine wilderness would also disappear. Maybe what crashed down was just an edge of a broken world. Then, what had happened to the original world? Why would a fragment of that world pass through the vast universe and finally crash into the divine wilderness? Yi Yun found it hard to believe, but he was sure that the past residents of this world were all extraordinary existences. The Taya Divine Kingdom was nothing compared to them. Although there were many such thoughts flying through Yi Yun's mind, he did not slow down at all. Oh. That is. Yi Yun's eyes lit up. He saw a mountain far in the distance. The mountain peak protruded like a divine sword piercing through the blue sky. And at the top of the snow-capped mountain, there was a palace. It was a complete palace that had not collapsed. The entire palace gave off a faint glow, making one feel relaxed and happy. A mountain that has not crumbled, and it is a complete palace on the mountain. Yi Yun held his breath. Could there be inheritance left behind by mighty figures in the palace? Yi Yun increased his speed as he hurtled towards the palace. At this moment, Yi Yun suddenly heard a sharp shrill behind him. Turning his head, he saw the golden crow species spreading its wings as it flew towards him while screaming. Its body was in flames as it traveled at a shocking speed. The golden crow species had rage in its eyes. It seemed like it wanted to tear Yi Yun to pieces. Trouble. Yi Yun felt his skin go numb. At this moment, the golden crow species was chasing him. With its speed, it might catch up to him before he reached the celestial palace. Yi Yun gritted his teeth and raised his speed to an extreme. The golden crow species was in hot pursuit behind him. Chapter 298, Dead Path. Author's note: it seems many people have misunderstood. Let me explain the lengths used in the book. We are using the lengths of ancient times. 1 feet is 23 centimeters, 1 zhang is 10 feet, which is 2.3 m. Yi Yun's 1,000 army saber's blade is 6 feet long, which is 1.38 m. With the hilt, the entire saber is 7 feet 2 inches long, which is 1.65 m. It is taller than 12-year-old Yi Yun's height. Yi Yun's movement skills had reached the large success stage of minute subtlety, so his speed exceeded everyone else amongst the warriors at the same level as him. But, compared to the golden crow species, it was nothing worth mentioning. With the absolute power gap between them, their speeds were not even on the same order of magnitude. No matter how fast Yi Yun went, compared to the golden crow species, he was as slow as a tortoise. Shao! The golden crow species cried out as it stretched out its wings to charge at Yi Yun. It reached out with its sharp claws, wanting to claw Yi Yun to death. But, just at that moment, the flying golden crow species suddenly stopped as a lump, the size of a face basin, appeared on its back. At the same time, the golden crow species coughed out blood, as if it was in extreme pain. Pang! The golden crow species slammed itself heavily onto the ground, crumbling large pieces of rocks, stirring up a storm. Oh! Yi Yun was shocked. Why did the golden crow species suddenly smash itself to the ground? A thought flashed in his mind as he opened up his energy vision. In the energy vision, the golden crow species' entire body was burning with energy. And within its body, there was another lump of energy which was even brighter. It was the pure Yang spirit. Yes, the golden crow species had yet to completely overcome the pure Yang spirit. Despite forcefully swallowing the pure Yang spirit, the two entities were still in a life and death battle. The only difference was that the battlefield had now changed to a venue inside the golden crow species' own body. One side wanted to refine the pure Yang spirit, while the other side's energy was injected into the golden crow species' meridians, attempting to burn the golden crow species to death. Neither of the two pure Yang elemental creatures were something Yi Yun could handle. Although a large portion of the golden crow species' strength was used to deal with the pure Yang spirit, it still just needed a single attack to behead Yi Yun. Yi Yun felt that he would not make it, seeing that the palace was still a dozen kilometers away. He turned around and charged towards the dried-up lake. Below the huge lake were bones of unknown creatures. These bones had undergone the passing of an unknown period of time. Although they looked like they were nearly decayed, the bones still shone in a jade-like luster. Yi Yun ran through the bones. Some of the bones were as large as mountains, so big that even a near-horned beast could run between the cracks of the bones, but there were also some that were similar to human bones. They blocked the path, but Yi Yun squeezed through the cracks while pushing his minute subtlety movement technique to its extremes. In the bone forest, Yi Yun obtained the greatest cover, while the large golden crow, with a wingspan of more than 10 meters, would be greatly hampered. Ah! The golden crow species behind him shouted a hoarse cry. It tumbled around as it flew up, chasing after Yi Yun once again. Seeing the bone forest blocking its path, the golden crow species simply ignored it and charged through it like a missile. Pwa pwa pwa! Bones after bones were knocked over by the golden crow species, turning to powdery white dust in an instant. The golden crow species had an unstoppable momentum. But after flying for a few seconds, it suddenly stopped and let out a scream. A white bone had pierced through the golden crow species' wing like a spear. Pang! The golden crow species fell from the sky, slamming into the bone pile. One broken bone still looked shiny on the surface, even after thousands of years. It was this bone that was extremely sharp. Even the golden crow species' wings, which were as strong as black iron, could not defend against its piercing. The golden crow's body went into violent convulsions as its wounded wing became covered in blood. It took great effort from it to pull out the truncated bone with its beak. A small stream of blood sprayed out from the wound, covering the golden crow species' face. The golden crow species had grown up in Fallen Stargate since it was young. It had never encountered such a strong bone before. It looked like it had decayed, yet it was still this strong and sharp. Even without Yuan Qi injected into it, it could actually break through its defense. This exceeded whatever it knew. It struggled once again to climb up. Within its body, the pure Yang spirit was still burning as it invaded the golden crow species' blood veins and meridians. The battle between the two pure Yang creatures had reached the ultimate life and death stage. Seeing the human running further away again, the golden crow species' feathers stood up due to its anger. Such a tiny creature, which seemed like an ant in its eyes, could have easily been finished off by it. That was why it swallowed the pure Yang spirit, to chase after Yi Yun to kill him. But it never expected that the situation would drag out for so long. The longer the pure Yang spirit was in its body, the more the golden crow species felt like it came closer to its death. It did not have much time left. If it chased after that human again, it could very well be burnt to death by the pure Yang spirit. Although the golden crow species felt that it could easily kill Yi Yun if it chased him and gave him one more attack, it decided not to take the risk. It was not worth risking its valuable life for a puny human. Besides, the golden crow species had previously burnt its pure Yang blood. It was destined to go all out in its battle with the pure Yang spirit. It hesitated for a while and decided to focus on dealing with the pure Yang spirit. It wanted to completely devour the pure Yang spirit before it would chase after that cursed human being again. To the golden crow species, swallowing the pure Yang spirit was the most important thing right now. Doing so could allow its body's blood and veins to become purer, maybe even allowing its body to grow one more limb out. Then, it would be able to manifest the form of an ancient three-legged golden crow. For this pure Yang spirit, the golden crow species had put in a lot of effort over many years. It did not want to fail at the last moment. But at this moment, the golden crow species noticed that the human had run out of the dried-up lake and was rushing towards a mountain. The mountain was like a divine sword that seemed to emerge out of the ground. It was extremely steep, and at the top of the mountain was a palace. The golden crow species did not recognize palaces, but it could vaguely feel the strong presence of the palace. It seemed like there were great opportunities contained within the palace. If the human entered it and managed to seal the door to the palace, it would not be able to enter. It would miss out on that opportunity. Upon thinking of this, the golden crow species spread out its wings. It was worth it to risk another 100 seconds to first kill the human and secure the opportunities within the palace. It gave a long cry before flying up into the sky, enduring the wanton destruction in its body by the pure Yang spirit. One of its wings had been pierced through by the bone, injuring its meridians and bones. This severely affected its speed, but even so, it was still much faster than Yi Yun. The golden crow species used about 20 seconds to easily catch up to Yi Yun. But at this moment, Yi Yun had rushed into a forest. The forest was completely dead, full of withered ancient trees. They seemed like broken halberds, piercing into the blue skies. After thousands of years, any wood would rot, but these ancient trees still remained in this broken world. Even though they had withered, they still stood proudly. With a once-bitten, twice-shy attitude, the golden crow species did not dare to charge into the forest, despite the wood being rotten. Instead, it hovered above the forest. As such, it was not able to catch Yi Yun. Yi Yun used the dead forest as cover as it charged towards the palace. However, the golden crow species overtook Yi Yun in the air. It circled in the air twice before opening its eagle-like mouth. Phew! A golden fireball shot out from the golden crow species without warning. It was like a meteor falling straight down. Oh! Yi Yun was greatly alarmed. He did not expect the firebird to have such a move. Naturally, the dead forest was unable to withstand the fireball. Yi Yun gritted his teeth and pushed his minute subtlety large success stage to his limits and changed directions and sidestepped. Boom! The fireball exploded, sending out a powerful shockwave. Although Yi Yun dodged the frontal assault, he was still affected by the aftermath. He felt an irresistible force hitting him, his body flying out like a piece of straw. Pang! Yi Yun crashed into a large tree. The tree trunk quivered and Yi Yun felt pain at his back. His fall had nearly caused his organs to twist. He used the Thousand Army saber as a support to stand up. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. What a terrible force! Although the golden crow species was a spent force, it was still able to launch a fireball attack that left him in such a pathetic state, despite him dodging and only being affected by the aftermath. Phew! The golden crow species folded its wings as it entered the forest, landing in a clearing about 9 meters in front of Yi Yun. The golden crow species' wings were completely covered in blood and its life force was in chaos. Its eyes were not focused and no longer looked as sharp as a hawk. It was clearly near its limits. In his energy vision, Yun could see that there were two violent energies within the golden crow species body, crashing against each other, making its body nearly explode. This golden crow species was not going to be able to endure this any further. But even in such a state, the golden crow species was still not something Yun could handle. A casual strike from it would turn Yun into smithereens. Conversely, if Yun were to attack the golden crow species, even if it stayed motionless, Yun might still not be able to break through the golden crow species' defenses, no matter how he attacked. This was the hopeless difference in strength. At this moment, the golden crow species' amber-colored eyes seemed to burn with a flame. It flared up as it stared at Yun. Two metallic claws, as sharp as blades, grabbed towards Yun. The pure yang energy that the claw brought along formed a strong cage, locking Yun within. In his current situation, he was unable to dodge. A simple scratch would rip Yun's body apart like tofu. In that split second, Yun became extremely calm. He took out a sachet he always held close to his body. On this sachet, there was a row word embroidered on it. There were well wishes the people of the vast wilderness believed in sewn on the back. Within the safety sachet was the life-protecting charm left behind by Su Jie. Chapter 299, The Counterattack While in Extreme Danger. Back when Yun first met Su Jie, he had sparred with Lin Xintong. Lin Xintong had suppressed her strength, and although she beat Yun, she admitted defeat because she had used her Fairy Maiden Heart Sutra. And because of this, Su Jie left Yun two items. One was the Qilin beast's head and the other was a yellow toilet paper-like charm. Su Jie had previously said that the charm could save Yun's life at a critical moment. This was Yun's last trump card in the Divine Wilderness. It was also one of the crutches he relied on to risk entering the burning hell. At this moment, Yun's only glimmer of hope while facing against the golden crow species was Su Jie's charm. Old man Su, you love to take advantage of people, and you have taken advantage of me. Please do not take advantage of me this time. Yun prayed in his heart as he injected all his strength into the sachet according to Su Jie's instructions. He was activating the energy within the charm. In the dark and lifeless forest, the sachet floated in the air as a yellow charm paper flew out of the sachet. It was like an old moth flying right into the burning pure yang flames. The flying moth entering the fire was a collision that was out of proportions. It was as if time had suddenly stopped. The golden crow species' sharp claws, Yun's frozen facial expression and the flying yellow piece of paper seemed to freeze in their spots. Phew! With a light sound, the charm paper burned. As the charm paper was not eye-catching, the golden crow species completely ignored it as it sent its claw attack at Yun. But at this moment, a golden sword beam came out from the flames of the charm. It was a half-foot-long sword beam. It stabbed at the golden crow species at an incredible speed. The golden crow species' pupils constricted because of its desolate beast instincts. It sensed the impending danger. But at this moment, it was already a spent force. It could not respond in time. The sword beam was too fast. Cha! The beam sword went through a gap in the golden crow species' sharp claws as it mercilessly pierced the golden crow species' heart. Pwah! Blood splattered. The golden crow species' body trembled. Its heart had been penetrated by the sword beam. Although the sword beam's force was expended, the energy within continued to enter the golden crow species' body like a maggot. If the golden crow species was in its optimum state, it was still able to suppress the strength. However, at this moment, this energy together with the pure yang spirit's energy became the straw that broke the camel's back. Shao! The golden crow species gave out a shrill cry of pain that soared up into the skies. Its body was about to explode. The first to bear the brunt of it was Yun. He was affected by the sound waves as his eardrums broke, and they were spraying blood. The pain from both his ears did not affect Yun one bit. At that moment, Yun was extremely calm. With the 1,000 army saber in hand, his body's yuan qi exploded. The Saber-Tomb's 32 words flashed through Yi Yun's mind. The ultimate saber truths that he had eventually gained insight on merged with his killing intent burst out. Boom! Behind Yi Yun, radiant sun chi condensed to form a ghostly image of the Tang Valley. There was faint light of the sun spilling out from it. At the same moment the beautiful picture was born, the Thousand Army saber in Yi Yun's hand gave out a roar. The Thousand Army saber almost seemed to merge with Yi Yun as one. The saber was man, and the man was a saber. Saber truths, 32 words, one with the saber. Yi Yun and the Thousand Army saber became a dazzling pure yang beam as it flew right at the golden crow species' chest. Although the golden crow species was not noted for its defense amongst all the desolate beasts, its feathers were still as tough as blades. It was not something that Yi Yun could break through, and in fact, he would be far from capable in doing so. Yi Yun's attack was injected with all his energy. The spot he chose to attack was where the beam sword had split it apart. It was also the golden crow species' heart which had been seriously injured. Cha! Yi Yun's attack followed through the golden crow species' wound and stabbed right into its flesh. More than half the 6-foot-long saber had penetrated into it. Pang! The strong impact and the explosive power broke the Thousand Army saber. No matter how strong the golden crow species was, there was a limit to its flesh's defenses. The golden crow species let out a deathly cry after the saber penetrated it. Yi Yun felt the weight in his hands disappear. Seeing that the Thousand Army saber had been broken, he did not hesitate and he used the minute subtlety large success stage to retreat. At the same time, the golden crow species' angry claw had swiped down. It was the moment of the golden crow species' death, so the attack had slowed down tremendously. It rubbed across Yi Yun's chest. But even so, the force wind that came from that attack cut through Yi Yun's body. Just the force wind was sufficient to cut through Yi Yun's protective yuan qi like paper. 3 deep blood marks appeared from Yi Yun's shoulder to his waist. It had nearly cut Yi Yun apart. Blood splattered. Yi Yun flew out as he tumbled roughly on the ground several times. The pain and the loss of blood nearly made Yi Yun faint. He bit the tip of his tongue to keep himself awake. He knew that fainting here was no different than death. Yi Yun maintained his energy vision and from it, he saw that the energy within the golden crow species was becoming increasingly chaotic. The pure yang spirit was still indignant about it as it tried to break through the golden crow species' body. But the golden crow species had already burnt its pure yang blood and it had lost control at this moment. It was a final confrontation with the pure yang spirit where the consequences did not matter. Yi Yun's continuous attack had pushed the primordial species' life to the brink. And the chaotic energy within its body was no longer constrained, it was about to break out. No good. Yi Yun endured the pain as he gritted his teeth. He rolled on the ground to the back of a large tree that was 7 to 8 meters in diameter. Almost at the same moment Yi Yun rolled to the back of the large tree, he heard a loud bang. The pure yang energy within the golden crow species' body had exploded. Blood and flesh splattered with its innards completely burnt. The golden crow species' body exploded from the inside. Its body was extremely tough, so even such an explosion did not blow it to pieces. A large portion of its body was left behind, but it had still been blown into 2 pieces. The flesh and blood fragments shot out in all directions together with the shockwave. Yi Yun felt the tree behind him tremble as its tree bark was torn off, its roots breaking and the tree collapsing. Ka-cha! With a snap, the large tree that needed about 10 people hugging it to encircle it, broke from the middle as the upper end of the ancient tree crashed to the ground. Yi Yun hid in the space between the stump and the collapsed trunk, avoiding the crashing down of the tree trunk. Pwa pwa pwa! Wood and flesh dropped to the ground. Everything around Yi Yun was covered in the rain of blood. It has ended. In his energy vision, the golden crow species was completely dead. Even the pure yang spirit imprisoned within its body had lost its life force. It seemed like its body was now a candle in the wind, about to extinguish any moment. Yi Yun was currently seriously injured. His eardrums were broken and there were 3 gruesome wounds across his chest. His organs had been slashed and he was bleeding internally. If not for the large tree behind him, Yi Yun would have died from the final explosion. This tree. Yi Yun touched the withered wood that was old and strong. He was extremely shocked. What sort of tree was this? Even though it was dead, it could still stand for thousands of years. Even though it had withered, it was able to endure the primordial species' explosive shockwave. Although it had eventually snapped, it had saved him from doom. Yi Yun leaned on the stump. He really did not want to move even a finger. He wanted to just sleep. But this was not the time to sleep. He still had more important things to do. Yi Yun's fingers trembled as he took out a healing relic from his interspatial ring. This was an expensive healing medicine that he had bought. It could heal the wounds in his organs and the injury to his eardrums. After swallowing the healing relic with difficulty, Yi Yun felt a warmth flow permeating his body. It flowed from his dantian to every end of his body, rejuvenating his broken body. With the healing relic, Yi Yun managed to recover some yuan qi. After that, Yi Yun took out some expensive herbs to smear on his wounds. Yi Yun was using the best herbs within his interspatial ring, regardless of cost. He wanted to recover quickly. He needed to be in a relatively good state to complete his next task. After about 10 seconds, Yi Yun stood up while holding on to the trunk. He walked to the golden crow species corpse. Taking a deep breath, Yi Yun clenched his fists. This was an extremely critical moment. 10,000 Beast Totem was a totemistic technique that Yi Yun nearly wanted to give up on, but now, he saw a glimmer of hope. To condense an aspect totem with the 10,000 Beast Totem, the requirement was to kill a primordial species. Previously, Yi Yun had killed all sorts of pure yang desolate beasts and absorbed their energies, but they were a fraction of what was needed to condense an aspect totem. But now, Yi Yun finally had a chance. Closing his eyes as he focused, Yi Yun sent his perception into the purple crystal origins. The sutras of the 10,000 Beast Totem flowed across Yi Yun's mind, and with the purple crystal origins, Yi Yun was able to achieve the stringent requirements of the 10,000 Beast Totem. Yi Yun's hands started to form seals as the pure yang energy within the golden crow species corpse was extracted bit by bit. Condensing a primordial species beast mark was easier said than done. But with the purple crystal's help, as long as it was energy without an owner, there were no problems, and even if the energy was difficult to control, he could control it. Within the quiet dead forest, a golden light appeared as if a phoenix was consuming itself in death. At the same moment, the pure yang energy contained within the pure yang spirit that was almost dispersing was also sucked out by the purple crystal. It merged into the beast mark that was almost formed. It was an unexpected combination. The pure yang spirit danced around in the golden light like a flame. The golden light within the forest became richer as if there was a heavenly treasure about to be born. If this scene was seen by others, it would have been shocking. Because even when sages advanced their aspect totem, it would not have such divine light. From within the golden light, a firebird flew out. It had a hawk's beak as its mouth, a crow's eyes, red wings, and 3 legs. 3-legged golden crow. Maybe it was due to its ancestral bloodline, or because of the pure yang spirit's injection. It was because the golden crow species beast mark actually was in the form of a 3-legged golden crow. This made Yi Yun pleasantly surprised. A 3-legged golden crow's beast mark was enough to allow him to condense his own aspect totem. Chapter 300, Yi Yun's Aspect Totem. In the surging golden light, Yi Yun could feel thick, pure yang qi, as if the sun itself was gushing it out. Holding his breath, he used the purple crystal to control the beast mark before slowly merging it into his body. Qi. The pure yang energy burned in Yi Yun felt as if he had been thrown into a fire furnace, where the flames in the fire furnace were from those of the scorching sun. The seven-colored pure yang energy was like a surging wave, recklessly passing through Yi Yun's body, making him feel as if his meridians were burning with fire. Yi Yun could feel every meridian and pore of his body gush out pure yang qi. It's too painful. To be placed in a fire furnace, allowing himself to be burnt, was a pain that did not need describing. Yi Yun gritted his teeth as he expected the pain. With his body and cultivation level, how could it not be painful to experience the primordial species beast marks surge through his meridians? Yi Yun sat down with his legs crossed. All of his muscles were trembling and convulsing. Behind him, a seven-colored radiance arose, condensing into the image of a golden crow with reddish gold feathers. Slowly, it was merged with Yi Yun's body bit by bit. Suddenly, Yi Yun felt a burning pain coming from his blood and bone marrow. It was like his blood, flowing within his blood vessels, had been replaced by magma. This is... In his energy vision, Yi Yun could clearly see that it came from the golden crow species, pure yang energy. It was continuously absorbed by his blood and marrow. After his purplish-red blood absorbed a large amount of the golden crow species pure yang energy, it slowly started to turn a little golden in color. His bone marrow also began to emit a golden sheen. Could this be? Yi Yun's mind flashed. Pure yang body. This was the pure yang body Elder Song Yin mentioned. The pure yang spirit could allow a person's body to transform towards the final outcome of a pure yang body. And after Yi Yun swallowed the golden crow species beast mark, with the two compounded together, he was now slowly starting to gain the property of a pure yang body. Yi Yun recalled that when Song Yin introduced the cultivation record of the Taiya sacred technique, he mentioned pure yang immortal. Although he did not have the purple crystal, he only took 20 days to master the Taiya sacred technique. The only reason for this was because he had a pure yang body, allowing him to learn the Taiya sacred technique with ease. That person later created the Pure Yang Palace, becoming one of the mightiest figures in the Taiya divine kingdom. Pure yang bodies had different grades. The purer the body, the higher one's cultivation level talent would be. Yi Yun knew that he was at the beginning stages of the pure yang body. Compared to pure yang immortal's body, he was still a good distance away. However, this was enough to make Yi Yun become extremely excited. Everything was difficult in the beginning. With this early beginnings of a pure yang body, as long as his cultivation level increased over time, and as long as he could find even more pure yang treasures in the future, then his body would become purer, eventually reaching an extreme. Lin Xintong's purine body was at an extreme. Yi Yun believed that in the future, he too would become an extreme, with a pure yang body. And what was most important was that, after successfully obtaining a pure yang body, Yi Yun's talent would slowly change. Yi Yun had tunneled through to this world into a vast wilderness youth's body. This youth was too normal, be it his bones or physique. With the purple crystal helping him, Yi Yun had no lack in energy. However, his constitution was severely limited. There was a limit to how much one could handle, despite having all the energy in the world. Now, with Yi Yun gaining a pure yang body, he would slowly feel the tremendous pace of cultivating in the future. As time passed, the pure yang body gave Yi Yun joy. The pain from the pure yang flames burning his meridians had weakened. Without realizing it, the pure yang energy within his dantian had reached its maximum capacity. Pasha! Yi Yun heard a soft sound. His dantian suddenly quivered, as if it had suddenly enlarged in size in an instant. The pure yang energy became part of Yi Yun's original energy. His strength broke through the middle stages of purple blood, directly into the late stages of purple blood. And that was not the end. Yi Yun could feel his energy surging, all the way to the peak of the late stages of purple blood, before it slowly lost its momentum. This could be said to due to his well-grounded foundation. Yi Yun had stayed in the mid-stages of purple blood for too long, so when he broke through, he went straight to the peak of purple blood. At the moment Yi Yun's cultivation level reached the peak of the late stages of purple blood, a foggy, burning image appeared behind him. This foggy image was that of a golden crow. It became clearer and clearer as it grew in size. Its body grew to the size of more than 10 meters, while its wingspan was nearly 30 meters long. And this golden crow image had a third leg. Its head was that of a crow's and its beak was that of a hawk's. It was the same as the legendary golden crow. This was Yi Yun's aspect totem, the ancient three-legged golden crow. Yi Yun stood up. As he did not use the purple crystal to control energy while all of this was happening, all of his clothes had been burned clean from his body. He now stood naked in the dead forest, and the golden crow image behind him spread its wings as it was about to begin flying. Such a lifelike aspect totem was as if a real golden crow was standing there. It gave off a great sense of oppression. The golden crow stood behind Yi Yun as its eyes flashed. Its body was burning with flames like surging waves. This shocking scene was impossible to describe. In contrast, back when Xu Xiaoran condensed a glacier snow wolf image, it was about 4 to 5 meters tall, and its body was also much more fuzzy. It was a shadowy image, nothing like a real desolate beast. If the glacier snow wolf was to be placed in front of this golden crow, the contrast in body size would be like that of a field mouse against a goshawk. This is my aspect totem, the aspect totem formed from the 10,000 beast totem. Yi Yun looked up at the large three-legged golden crow and a sense of pride surged through him. With this golden crow aspect totem, he could fly freely in the sky. The 10,000 beast totem is indeed a top-grade totem mystic technique. I only killed one primordial species and was able to condense such a strong aspect totem. Of course, to have such an effect has a lot to do with the purple crystal. Besides, I also managed to absorb a lot of the essence of the pure yang spirit, that is also part of the reason. Back when Song Yan showed the 3 totem mystic techniques to Yi Yun, the 10,000 beast totem was likely the most powerful one. Right, the pure yang spirit. Yi Yun only formed the beast mark just now. Although he had absorbed a large portion of the pure yang spirit's essence, Yi Yun did not absorb the pure yang spirit's body. Yi Yun opened his energy vision and looked around. He quickly discovered the pure yang spirit hidden in the golden crow species corpse. It seemed to have already lost its life force. After being nurtured in the pure yang burning hell for tens of thousands of years, it slowly formed a sentience, but now, it was nearly wiped away. Yi Yun injected his spiritual energy into the purple crystal, sucking out the pure yang spirit. Slowly, it flew towards Yi Yun. At this moment, the pure yang spirit had completely lost its ability to resist. Phew! The pure yang spirit entered Yi Yun's body, going straight into the purple crystal. Finally, it was sealed inside the interior of the purple crystal. Oh! This is... Seeing the pure yang spirit fly into the purple crystal, Yi Yun was shocked. He noticed that on the purple crystal, there was a mark that had mysteriously appeared. This mark was that of a golden crow. I have absorbed the golden crow beast mark, and there's a golden crow mark on the purple crystal. There's actually such a thing. Yi Yun found it fascinating. It seems like the purple crystal still had many secrets which were just waiting for him to uncover them. When the pure yang spirit was absorbed into the purple crystal, it began to get nourished by the purple crystal's energy, allowing it recover some yuan qi. As such, it began to slowly burn yet again. This feeling was weird. Yi Yun felt like there was an additional flame within his body. The pure yang spirit has been sealed within the purple crystal. Seeing this situation, Yi Yun was overjoyed. With the pure yang spirit within the purple crystal, he could continuously draw strength from the pure yang spirit. Also, the purple crystal would slowly nourish the pure yang spirit, allowing it grow stronger. With this, he had another trump card. With his cultivation level reaching the late stages of purple blood, condensing a golden crow aspect totem, and now, the additional energy from a pure yang spirit, this trip made into the burning hell increased Yi Yun's strength by several times. I wonder what my ranking will be if I were to attempt challenging the Earth role. Yi Yun was looking forward to it. But now was not the time for him to return to the Tai Divine City. He still had to explore this mysterious world. Yun turned his head around and looked at the mountain's towering peak. There, a palace stood proudly. The mystery hanging around it made him feel like it contained truths that were equal to heaven.